Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Maria, in case you don't know me, and I'm the owner of Baffling Beads AT, a small shop over on Etsy for handmade beaded jewelry. I also post content here on YouTube in the form of beading tutorials, studio vlogs, and other chatty videos about my small handmade business. And today, finally, it's time to teach you how to make Coburn bracelets. So a tutorial for my Coburn bracelets has been requested again and again. It's one of the most popular designs on my Instagram feed, I would say. And you can buy them on their own in my shop. They are all made to order with your chosen length and your chosen clasp material, like brass or sterling silver. But they also come in jewelry sets together with Coburn hoops. So if you're interested in those, please check out the link down below. So first I want to show you some examples for my Coburn bracelets. I have them, I think, in 13 different color combinations in my shop, but you can always get in contact with me if you would like to change a color or the whole color scheme. Then I can check for you whether I have the necessary beads to make that change for you, no problem. I sell these bracelets in tone and tone color combination and also in contrasting color combinations. And for some of these bracelets I use check bead mixes, like for the green, pink and blue and yellow one. Today for this bracelet I will use a color combination I don't have in my shop. I will make it in the length of 17 centimeters, as most of my customers have ordered bracelets in the length of 16 to 17 centimeters. I think that's a good choice if I want to give it away, this bracelet, in form of a giveaway, either here on YouTube or over on Instagram. We will see. And I also don't know when this will happen, but I would like to make a unique color combination for this bracelet, and maybe I will even add some Coburn hoops later on. So the last video I posted was a basic beading techniques video on the herringbone stitch. We will need both the herringbone stitch as well as the brick stitch. So if you don't know these stitches, please check out the tutorials. I will also link them down below in the description box, because I won't be able to describe every single step. So please have a look at the tutorials I just mentioned. So let me show you what kind of beads and other supplies we will need, and then I will show you how to bead this bracelet. For all my bracelets I always use the Miyuki beading thread in size B, this time in black, because I don't use any transparent or luster beads. They are all matte, opaque matte. So this time I choose a dark color, which is black. And for my metal supplies I chose sterling silver. So these are the lobster clasps. Then I will use an extension chain. I need 2 wire guards and some tiny little jump rings. They are about 3 millimeters in size. Then for the beads. For this bracelet I will use 2 different shades of these Miyuki Delica 11O beads. Also 2 different shades for 15O Miyuki round beads. And for the middle row I will use fire polished check beads, which in this case are a mix of silver and dark blue, 3 millimeter. So then I arrange my beads in the order I will need it when I take them up for my bracelet. So this is going to be the outer row. I cut about 3.5 arm length of thread, and that should really be enough for a bracelet of the length of 17 centimeter. As always I use a size 10 beading needle. I will measure the thread that I will need to finish off my bracelet when I've beaded the whole length. I will need about, this length should be enough. So when I've beaded the whole length of the bracelet, I will then need to add the other ending, which will taper down towards the clasp. If you don't know what I mean, please check out the herringbone stitch tutorial. So this is about 15 to 20 centimeters, and that should be fine. I will place my fingers at that spot so that I know where to push my beads and where to start my base row for the stitch. So I take up 2 Miyuki Delica beads. The outer row of the Miyuki Delica beads will be the darker shade in my case, and the inner row will be the lighter one. So I take up one dark one and one lighter one. I push them all the way down to where my fingers are. And I will start with my base row by going up through the first bead. And then I place the second bead right next to it. Like this. And we do this until we have a row of 6 beads. So we've now added the 6th bead, and I'm coming out of the second last bead. And what I will do now is I take up 2 beads, a light one and a dark one, and I directly begin with the herringbone stitch on top of these 2 beads. So I go down through the 6th bead, so that it looks like this. And then you go up through both beads on the left hand side. And then I take up a light one and a dark bead. I go through that last bead on the second row. Now I add my decorative dark beads. I take up 2 of the tiny round beads and I go up through that last bead on the third row. Take up a dark and a light bead and I go down all the way back to that base row. And then I go up through the bead on the left hand side. I take up a lighter Miyuki Delica bead, a light Miyuki round bead and a light Miyuki Delica bead. I go back down through that bead on the left hand side and I go up again and then I like to turn it over. Again I take up a light Miyuki Delica bead and a dark one. I add another herringbone stitch. Then I go up one row by adding 2 of the dark Miyuki round beads. And I take up 2 Miyuki Delica beads. And I go back down all the way to the base row. Now I need to add another 2 herringbone stitches on the right hand side. So for this I go back up by 1 row on the right hand side. And then I switch over to that lighter row and I go up all the way. You take up 2 Miyuki Delica beads. You make another herringbone stitch by going back down through that last bead on the 3rd row. You add 2 Miyuki round beads. Then you take up 2 Miyuki Delica beads again. You go back down only that 1 row. I'm sorry that my finger's in the way, but I really need to hold these beads tight so that I don't lose tension. Like this. And this is the start of our Coburn bracelet. So for a start you always need 1 column of 3 rows and 1 column of 4 rows. And when you start to fill in the bracelet, you need to come out of the longer column at the 3rd row, so that you can put in the beads in here, in between, by going up through that bead here on this side and then continuing with your herringbone stitch. So it needs to look like this. And you need to come out of that longer column of beads. So now the easy part starts. I will fill my bracelet with 3 beads in the middle. So I take up 1 tiny Miyuki round bead, 1 of the 3mm check beads and 1 Miyuki round bead. And then I go up to that bead on the left hand side. You take up 2 Miyuki Delica beads. By the way, you don't have to do this with Miyuki Delica, you can also do this with round beads. I think that's pretty clear. And then you just continue with your herringbone stitch. It's a little wonky, it will get better with time. Take up 2 of the Miyuki round beads and I go up by 1 row. Take up another 2 beads. and I add another herringbone stitch. Now I will pass through that same 3mm check bead by taking up one Miyuki round bead, and I go through the check bead take up another Miyuki round bead, and you go up through that first bead on the second column of beads. And this is how we will continue until we have our chosen length. So I will make a herringbone stitch, add 2 Miyuki round beads, another herringbone stitch, then I take up one tiny Miyuki round bead, one 3mm check bead, another Miyuki round bead. I will go up through this bead, add another herringbone stitch, add 2 more Miyuki round beads, add another herringbone stitch. Then you take up a Miyuki round bead, you go back through the 3mm check bead, you take up another Miyuki round bead, and then you will start all over again. So take up 2 beads, you add a herringbone stitch, you add 2 Miyuki round beads, take up 2 Miyuki delica beads, you add another herringbone stitch, Miyuki round bead, 3mm bead, Miyuki round bead, you go up through that column on the left hand side, take up 2 beads, add another herringbone stitch, you add 2 more Miyuki round beads, and you add another herringbone stitch. Take up 1 Miyuki round bead, I pass through that 3mm check bead, and I take up another one, and I go back up to that last row of beads. That's 2 beads. And then you continue on. So I'm done with beading the whole length, and as you can see we now need to add both clasps, and for that I will brick stitch the ends of this bracelet. And of course for this end this is easy because we have that base row we can brick stitch on top. But this end is the herringbone stitch end. So we need to form an even row of beads so that we then can continue with the brick stitch. And for this, so when you added the last few beads of your middle row, so the filling basically, you will then continue with 2 more herringbone stitches. You take up 2 beads, go down this outer bead, you add 2 round beads, and you make another herringbone stitch. So now we have 2 extra on this side. Now I need another row on this side so that we are on the same level, and that we can also add this little group of 3 beads up here so that it looks the same. So for this I'm coming out of this second row from the top. I go 1 further down through all those middle beads, don't pull too tight because then you will destroy the look of your herringbone stitch. Go up, go that Miyuki round bead and the next Miyuki delica bead. And up through that upper bead on the left hand side. Then you will add 2 beads. Like this. As you can see, we're on the same level, and now we need to add 2 more beads in between. So you go up these 2 beads, you don't pull tight. Of course they will straighten a little because the stitch is different. Go back down this bead, and now you will add the beads just the way we did with the base row. Take up another bead, you let it sit right beside the other one. Take up another bead, now you have those 2 additional beads, and you go up to the next bead so that you can connect all those beads. And they are connected. Go up again on the right hand side and down to the outer bead. And you will straighten it by going up through that bead on the left hand side. Now they're pretty straight. Now we need to straighten this one, the outer one on the left hand side, and First, I will add that group of 3 beads. Go up. And down again on the left hand side. Up again. And now they are pretty straight. And this is how you bead the ends of a filled herringbone stitch. Now what's left is adding the triangular shapes of the brick stitch, where you then can add the wire guard onto and weave in your thread. Turn it over, pick up your beads for a tight brick stitch. As I said before, I don't explain this in detail. Please check out the brick stitch tutorial for this one. So we decrease until we have a row of 2 beads. And that's the end. Now you take one of your wire guards and you place it on top. Go down one row. And then you weave in your thread. So this is what it should look like then. And then you can cut your thread. I will now finish the second end. And this is the finished bracelet. So you can see I added the clasp and the extension chain, and this is it. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions about the stitch, the beading, let me know down in the comments and I will try to answer them for you. So let me check how long this is. So I measure the bracelet length from starting at the lobster clasp to that wire guard, and then I usually count the extension chain as an extra. Yeah, so this is pretty much a little tiny bit more than 17 centimeters, and I used 40 3mm fire polish check beads for that middle row. So, only in case you wondered. So this is the finished bracelet. It looks like this. And since I don't wear bracelets, I will probably keep it and give it away when we have something to celebrate. And I will consider making the matching hoop earrings too. So because I pushed out so many tutorials in April, May and June, it may be that I won't release a tutorial in July, because seriously I need a break. When you're watching this, it's going to be mid of June, I guess, and I will be on vacation at that time point. So when I'm back, I'm probably going to work a lot on my shop and less on making more tutorials and designs and these things. I will probably spend a few weeks and just bead away. But of course the next few will come, so stay tuned for those. If you're curious what else I sell in my shop, please check out the link down below. You also find all my social media links down below in the description box. If you like this video, please leave a like and maybe even comment whether you want to try out this design and which colors or which beads you would choose. And please also consider subscribing if you're interested to learn more about beading or if you would like to follow my small business. That's it for today. I wish you all a very beautiful day and I will hopefully see you next time. Bye!